Just before we begin here, and I turn the mic over here to the deputy to introduce the neighborhood community police officers in the new program, I just want to go over a couple of things. First of all, it's nice to see so many familiar faces in the room here. I really appreciate the support that you have shown 51 Division, continue to show our community by showing up at events like this and other events that we've put on. Your continued support makes our community stronger and, more importantly, safer. So from that point, I want to thank you very much. The second thing is, although when we've gotten together, we have spoken about a number of different crime and disorder issues that occur within our communities and some of the strategies that we've developed and continue to deploy out in our communities. This is really not the meeting for us to discuss any of those issues. And so if you've come here, I will remain here at the end of this, at the end of the deputy's presentation, and I can speak to you about that, and the officers here from the Community Response Unit and my Community Response Staff Sergeant Eduardo Wolf is here as well. We'd be happy to hear any comments that you have, any questions that you may have, and anything at all that you want to talk about, sort of the crime and disorder. Deputy's really here to focus on this new enhanced program, the strategy and thought behind it, and some of the successes that this initial pilot project has already experienced. And if no one has any questions here, I'm going to turn it over here to the deputy. This is Deputy.
I do.
We're at the very beginning?
Yeah.
Okay, you know what? Well, we'll let the deputy start, and then I can speak to you just over here at the side here in just a second. I'm going to turn it over here. This is Deputy Peter Ewan. He is the deputy in charge of our Neighborhoods and Communities Command. He is responsible for all the subunits within the stations right across the entire city. It's a massive command, and it's probably the command that's experiencing the most change right now within our organization, and some of the developments that have come out of our way forward plan. And I'm not sure how many of you in this room had the opportunity to read it, but many of these things come right out of that plan. And I'm going to turn it now over to the deputy to explain his project.
Thank you, Peter. Good evening, folks. Anyway, tonight I'm going here to talk about a program where the Toronto Police Service will be rolling out in September. It's called the Neighborhood Community Officer Program. No good news and some bad news. Toronto has 140 neighborhoods. 140 neighborhoods. That's not defined by the Toronto Police Service. It's defined by the City of Toronto. Currently, the Toronto Police Service, with our current resource, we only have 35. That doesn't mean we're going to stop at 35. It's my intention to continue to work with the residents, 3 levels of government, to bring in more and more of these neighborhoods that will have neighborhood community police officers. Okay, so it may take a few years, it may take 5, 6, 7 years, but we're going to get there. Because, you know, in past meetings, some participant asked me, well, can we have 140 neighbors right now? And my answer is, yes, I can. But then I got to eliminate traffic services, homicide unit, guns and gangs, drugs. So there's always a balance. There's always a balancing act. So we will be increasing every year, and the chief has in fact asked for 25 additional neighborhoods for 2020. So let's do the math. We do 35 this year. By next year we have 60. So we're going to keep on increasing. So tonight I'm going to talk to you about this program, some of the benefits, some of the challenges, and what you're going to see in 51 Division. 51 Division, according to the City of Toronto, has 7 neighborhoods. 140, 51 has 7. Okay, 7. If you include Yonge Street, that would be 8. Currently, our current staffing model, our resources can only staff 4 neighborhoods in 51, so it's 50%. Actually, you're not doing too bad, because I just came from 42 Division last week. 42 Division Scarborough. They had 9 neighborhoods in 42, because 42 is geographically much bigger than 51. And out of the 9 neighborhoods, we can only staff 2. So 51 is not doing too bad, but I want to get to 100%, and it will get 100% eventually. So I'm going to do a, sorry, I'm going to do a little presentation, PowerPoint, and we're going to show you several videos. And after that, and I will view any questions pertaining to the neighborhood community officer program. Yes, I know when we attend community meetings, there are a lot of local issues. I understand that, because I've been to 7 divisions already. You know, local issues such as parking, such as disorderly, such as quality of life. I understand that. So, and Peter Morera, Superintendent Morera, will be committed after I finish what I'm going to have to say about this program, and he will chat with you and, you know, understanding what the issues are and understanding what he can do, and then giving you guys the resources, the appropriate responses to some of your local issues. Okay, because I have to say, I do not know all the local issues out of the 17 divisions. That would be really hard. Then, if I told you I have white hair, if I knew about that, I have no hair. Okay, so I would not confess to know every local issues in every divisions across the city. That is it possible? Yeah, it is. But I'll be up 24 hours, 23 hours and 15 minutes reading that every day, and have 10 minutes to rest. So that's how it goes. Okay, so but Peter Morera, and he's assigned to 51 Division. I have the greatest confidence in him. He used to work in 51 Division. Actually, when he got promoted to superintendent, he asked to come back to 51 Division because that's where he started his career. Because he said he has a lot of work unfinished business. What he means by unfinished business is a lot of good people live here. People deserve that proper policing, proper services, and he wants to continue that legacy, continue to work hard for the residents of 51 Division. Okay, so we're going to start with a little PowerPoint. So, yeah. So next slide, all right? So let me walk you guys back a little bit of historic context. In 2013, at that time I was the unit commander of 54 Division. That was in East York. At that time, the deputy chief says, we should do neighborhood policing. So a number of division got to send officers into neighborhoods. There were no criteria to pick neighborhoods. We did not go into divisions according to the city's Toronto City neighborhoods. We just went in, and there were no mandates given to the neighborhood officers. So the officers didn't know what they were supposed to do. Sorry, my voice is going. There were no training. Okay, the residents, the residents, the public were not consulted. What do you want to see from a neighborhood officer? What's going on here? So no, we just put officers in there and assume that as long as you see officers in there, everything's great. It wasn't great. Okay, it wasn't. So fast forward to 2000. So we asked Humber College because we knew something was wrong. Because I was the commander of 54 Division. This is not working out well. The officers are coming to me and says, we don't have any training. We don't know what we're supposed to do. You're not telling us what to do. Just all you said is go there and make some friends. Really? You know, like what is that supposed to mean? So okay, you know, we're a learning organization. There's always room to improve. So 2014, we asked Humber College a total. We didn't pay them. We asked them, do you want to take a look at our current model of delivering services like neighborhood officer? You need to come in and take a look at review, see if we're doing it right. So how did they do it? They went to the public and asked the public, what do you know about this neighborhood officer program? They asked the police officer, they asked the unit commanders, and there were a lot of findings, okay? And I'm going to share those findings with you later. Now we'll go to 216. 216, where the Toronto Police Services Board commissioned a new report called A Way Forward. Basically, that's the business plan for the Toronto Police Service to conduct business for the next 10 years. And one of the things they want us to do, the way forward was very critical. They want us to return to the communities and to deliver community-centric policing. So because of that way forward report, before that report was drafted, they went out and talked to a lot of residents. Again, they asked the residents, what do you want to see from the Toronto Police Service? Overwhelmingly, over 90% said one word. You guys know what that word is? They want to trust the police officer. Because the trust were eroded. Because if you look at policing, it's very reactive. You call the police, we get into a police car, we drive to your house, take a report or deal with your issue, and we drive away. You have no connection with the police officer. And the public said, we don't want that. We want a little bit more connectivity. We want the officers to work in our neighborhoods. We want the officers to know the schools. We want the officers to know the community centers. We want the officers to know the kids that are playing, or the young men and women that are playing soccer outside. We want that. We don't want you just to drive around in a 2-ton steel cage, driving around racing back and forth. So out of that report, recommendation 33 directed the Toronto Police Service to define and refine and refocus delivery for the neighborhood officer program. And I was the one that was assigned to it. So that's a little history, okay? So in 2018, because Humber College gave us some recommendation, they said, well, you guys were doing it okay, but you guys need to improve your neighborhood officer program. So 2018, in October, we tested the recommendations provided to us by Humber, and we tested in 8 different neighborhoods. 2 in 11 Division, that's High Park. 2 in the Etobicoke 22 Division. 2 in 41 Division and 42 Division. They were all in Scarborough. So they gave some recommendation. We tested on a 6-month pilot. And after a 6-month pilot, the result came back. It looked pretty favorable. So now, in September 2019, we will roll out this new version of Toronto Police Service Neighborhood Community Officer Program to 35 neighborhoods. Okay? If you have any questions, please write them down, or I can address them at the end. Unless you have something burning that you want to ask, because I'm getting old. If you interrupt me, I'm going to forget what I'm going to say. But you need to go to washroom, just go. Because last time I went, a couple of people put their hands on. I was like, do you have a question? No, I just got to go to washroom. Just go. You know, we're all adults here, all right? So, next slide. So remember I said to you about the recommendation? Recommendation 33 from the way forward. This report is online from the Toronto Police Service website. How many pages? I think it was over 150 pages. If you care about all the different recommendations, I invite you guys to go home and read it. It's quite interesting, quite extensive. This is really our business plan. You know, you go to every organization, they have a business plan, how they do business. You go to Rogers, you go to Bell, they have their business plan. So this is our business plan for the next 10 years. So if you're interested, just go to Toronto Police website and click the way forward, okay? And you'll get that report. So I'm not going to read it to you, but basically they want the police service to be trusted. They're supportive. The officers will be in the neighborhoods to solve problems, okay? I'm going to expand into that a little bit later. Next, please. So this is what we asked Humber College. A couple of good doctors from Humber College. They did it because researchers. They want to research that. They want to be the kind of the expert in Canada to look at neighborhood policing. So they did a research for us, obviously free of charge, not biased because it was not commissioned by the police. They want to do it. All right, next. So these are recommendations they made to us. Remember in 2013, we just put threw a bunch of officers in the neighborhoods and say, go do your job, right? Humber College said, that's not enough. These are basic foundation you must have to have a successful neighborhood community officer program. Number 1, consistent available program mandate. What is a mandate? Basically, is, and I have it here, if you care to take a look at the end of the meeting, I'm not going to read out to you. This is a contract. You see all the officers in the back? They're neighborhood officers in 51 Division. If I give them a test now, they should all pass 100%. Just nod your heads. Yes. This is their job description, folks. If they don't understand what they do, this is their Holy Bible. This is what they're supposed to do when they come to work. I'm not going to read out every line because it's here. But some of the responsibilities is work with the neighborhoods, solve local problems, be there when they need you, communicate, work with young people, work with social services, develop programs. I'm going to expand on that. So that first, Humber College says, in order to have a successful program, you have to have a mandate. Now we've got a mandate. This is a mandate. This is what neighborhood officers are asked to do every day they come into work. Number 2, I will skip the performance later. I'm going to go to the third bullet, assignment. So when we did it in 2013, we did not know how long these officers could be there. So Humber College did a review, asked the officers, asked the public. How long do you think a neighborhood officer should stay in the neighborhood? What do you think? How many years?
Forever.
Yes, we heard that answer, but that's not fair to the officer because they have a life, they have careers, they may want to get promoted, they may want to go somewhere. Actually, if I was going to give out presents, I would I would have given you it, but I don't have any presents to give out. So, the neighborhood officers are mandated to stay 4 years with an option for the 5th year. Humber College tells us, research tells us, you have to have some time to develop that trust. I cannot throw an officer into your neighborhood for 6 months and say, trust me. We have to earn your trust, okay? And time is the best litmus test to earn people's trust. Are we dependable? Can we be trusted? Are we professional? The officer can demonstrate that, those abilities, those skills, those learned behavior in front of you, and you can form your opinion whether I can trust the officers or not. So the officer is going to be there for 4 years. So someone says, how does that work? So remember I said 51 division and 8 neighborhoods? These officers, if they're assigned to your neighborhood, they're there for the next 4 years. They are not allowed to leave those neighborhoods. They are there when they're working. They are, like, let's say if this room is a neighborhood, when they come to work, they stay in this room. Unless there's an emergency downtown, there's an emergency in other parts of the city. What would you classify as emergency? Remember last year the Yonge Street attack? That's an emergency. All hands on deck. They gotta go. What if, we haven't had that? What if there's a bomb that just went off? We haven't had that. We live in a big city, we have to be cognizant of those issues. But unless something major happens, where's Peter Morera? They're not allowed to leave this room. You understand that, sir?
They know that.
So, they are there for you. So each neighborhood officer, each neighborhood, the current model is this way. We have 4 officers. I like to increase it, but you gotta give me some time to get more resources, right? So the framework is 4 right now. Some neighborhoods in Scarborough, 4 is not enough, they may need 8. It's so large, right? So 2 officers will be working, and they'll be going off on days off. The other 2 will be coming back on, so you always have police officers in your neighborhoods. And one of the features of neighborhood officers, this is the first time in Canadian policing that I am doing this. We are doing this Toronto Police Service. Neighborhood officers, in case you haven't heard this before, you will hear it again. They're mandated to give you their cell phone numbers. Mandated. How does that work? So when you have an issue, you can give them a text. And they'll respond to you as soon as they can. You're not going to get that type of police services anywhere in Canada. So you don't have to call 911. You don't have to call 808-2222. But I always ask you this. These officers need to sleep. So if 2 o'clock you hear a dog barking, don't call him or her. Be reasonable. Understand that? But this is the first time in policing history that we've offered this service to a particular neighborhood. So after this, go ask them which neighborhood they work in and get the phone numbers. If they say no, let me know. Okay? Because that's their job. You can have Peter Morera's number too. Can I take the questions at the end, please?
A quick one. You said they're going to be here all for 4 years,
Yes.
and they have to be here,
Yes.
unless there's a bomb or whatever, right?
Yes.
What's going to happen when it's Caravana?
No, they don't leave. They only leave. Special events is for the other crew officers. So all the special events in the city, like there's a protest in the U.S. consulate. In 2 weeks, next week you're gonna have Caribbean Festival. The week after you got the Taste of the Danforth, and so forth and so forth. Neighbor officers do not leave. They are yours. So we have different type of police officers to deal with special events. Unless there's a catastrophe in this city, they do not leave. Okay, so now we go back to the work performance evaluation. How do we evaluate them? Neighborhood officers are mandated have 4 meetings with local residents. They're mandated. They will come and meet with you. They will advertise on the cell phones, on the social media platform. They will meet with you. Every month, neighborhood officers are required to submit a report to their staff sergeant, sitting right here, to Peter Morera, and to me. So what does this report say? This is their work performance. I'm going to give you some of the stuff that I'm asking them to do, okay? Because we'll never ask a police officer to do this. This is every month I'm going to review. I may not review 35, but I'll review 33 anyway, okay? All right. Every month they submit. So let's say this room is a neighborhood. So let me see what I asked them to do. Okay. Identify the top 5 at-risk person in your neighborhood. At-risk what does at-risk mean? That person could be in power, about to enter a gang. That person could be suffering from mental health. That person could be radicalized to go off to fight for some holy cause. At risk means, at risk doesn't mean criminality, at risk. So a young person who, the neighborhood officer working with the local school, the principal said, you better talk to Mark here. He's not going to school. Maybe you want to chat with him. Mark, I hope you went to school. So to us, that's at risk. So the officer will work with this young person and say, what can we do for you? How can we get you referrals? In the past, policing, when I joined the police service, we got a call, let's say we got a call from a concerned parent. My son's not going to school. He's smoking. In the past, when I was a police officer, I would say, sorry, I can't do anything for you because that's not a policing matter. It is not a policing matter. But we'll be polite and we'll say we got to leave. But neighborhood officers will never leave your house. They will always make the right referrals for it because one of the things they're good at is making referrals. It may not be a policing issue, but if the young person is suffering from mental health, he or she may know an agency where we can refer that young child. And then we can do follow-up. So one of the things they have to do is every month they have to identify 5 at-risk person. Now, we're into policing is all about crime and disorder. So next category, 5 top of offenders that are victimizing the neighborhoods. Could be gang members, could be people breaking into cars. Just because they identify for them, this is only identification. Every one person they identify, they have to come along, accompanied with a work plan. So you say, okay, Peter, you want to say top offender. That's nice. What have you done with this person? What are you doing with this person? So they have to tell me. 5 community concerns. Community concerns could be barking dogs, could be this street is Sackville, right? Cars are speeding. Those are community concerns. Or young kids drinking in the park at nighttime, or young kids harassing people coming home. Those are community concerns. So they have to identify these things. This report's got about 8 pages. So neighborhood officers, because they haven't started this program yet, so all these guys in the back, they said, oh, I don't want to do reports. Well, you have to, guys. If you don't like the reports, then you can do something else. And they talk about monthly meeting, some of the things action items that they agree with you guys, what they're going to do, local problems. So this is a very comprehensive report, and so every month they will be, and you get to see it, because that's their scorecard, that's their report card to me. Because if they have nothing there, then I know they're not doing anything. They're not fulfilling the mandate. So this report has to be robust, has to be information rich for me to understand what are some of the issues. Let's say in Regent Park, or in Moss Park, or in Cabbagetown, whatever, wherever you live, okay? So I need to understand that, and then we can allocate appropriate resources to deal with those issues. So that's how they get evaluated. So we talked about length, how long they're going to be there. We talked about mandate, we talked about evaluation. What the staff transition planning means is, I'm always going to put experienced neighborhood officers there, because in 2013 we're just going to put people just came and went. So now if let's say 2 of my neighborhood officers are going away, they have to stay there and train another pair before they are ready to leave. Okay, we not just drop 2 new person in there and say, oh, go and meet your neighbor. And so there's that transition period. So you always got officers in there that understands and knows the community. Okay. One of the things that Humber said, in order for neighborhood community officers to be sustainable, to make meaningful impact, is youth engagement. You have to start with young people. And if we don't get to the youth, then all is lost. So they are mandated to establish young people program. So I'll give you some example from 23 Division. The neighborhood officers identified there's a huge influx of Somali youth that just moved in, new immigrants. They don't speak English. They're not doing very well at school, and most of them don't have proper nutrition. One of the neighborhood officers' feature is these officers will be given specialized training. The specialized training will be 2 weeks. But someone asked, what are the trainings? The training is they're not going to learn how to shoot a gun. We know how to shoot a gun. they're not going to learn how to use the baton. We know how to do that stuff. The neighborhood officer training is 2 weeks, and it's every year they have to go back for another few days. They have to learn the human aspects, soft skills. So what are they learning? Communications, how to talk with people. They have to learn problem solving. They have to learn de-escalation. They have to learn dispute resolution. They have to learn implicit bias policing. They have to learn empathy. That kind of stuff they're learning. One of the things that I'm going to put in next year is writing skill. Because I go back to the 23 division. Because 23 division, the officer knows how to write, and they access federal grants. So in every division, I expect my neighborhood officers to work with the local community to access grants, and they will write on your behalf to get grants from city, province, and the feds to bring programs into the divisions. Okay, that's their job. So 23 division, they wrote a grant, and it was very successful. They brought in a breakfast club, after school program, and some activities for the young people. So every division will be doing that, okay? So those are the differences. Humber College says, first you have to give them a mandate. You have to define the length. You have to give them some specific training. And then you have to communicate to the public what these are before you can have a successful neighborhood community officer program, okay? So for the pilot project, we did it for 6 months, and we did that, okay? And we believe there are some positive results, and then now we're rolled out. So these officers that hasn't had the 2-week training, I know some of them have in 51, some of them haven't. Have you got it yet, Henry?
Training?
The 2-week training?
No,
So Henry's going to go back to school for 2 weeks, okay? So, and all the officers are going back to school for 2 weeks. They're going to pass. They can't just say, oh, I'm not show up. They have to pass and to get this neighborhood officer training before they can start serving you, the residents, okay? Next, please. So I talked about that. One of the things that I want to go to bullet number 2. Police officers will work at very rigid hours. Neighborhood officers are now given the freedom. They can work any hours they want to accommodate your needs. So if you have some issues at 2 a.m. in the morning, the officer would change the shift to work with you at 2 a.m. in the morning, okay? It's quite a departure from rigid policing. You can talk to them and say, you know what, every Friday we got issues. So they're not going to say, every Friday I work day shift from 9 to 5. Too bad about your issues at 10 p.m. No, they will change the shift. Very flexible. So I want to make it as flexible as possible so they are truly working with you.